Welcome, Will.
Thank you so much for that intro, Diane. And it has been a joy working with you, even if you did take advantage of a guy that didn't know what he was doing in an association and make him volunteer for all sorts of crazy stuff. So, anyways, hey everybody, I am so glad to be here today and walk through this with you guys. Um, just a quick announcement. This is the first time that this class has been shared. So as we're kind of walking through it, ironing out the kinks, bear with us. But I hope you guys walk away with this just kind of having a better understanding of pool leaks, what the true costs are, and and you can walk away with something and make yourselves better, make your communities better with it. Again, my name is Will Diefenbach. I do work with Aqua leak detection. And over the last 7 years, I've had this great opportunity to work alongside pool builders, renovation companies, realtors, and even community association managers just like you guys. I've gotten the opportunity to see the hidden cost of pool leaks that goes beyond just the water loss that nobody really ever maybe recognizes or maybe that nobody talks about. Um, and so today, my hope is to kind of unveil some of those hidden costs, help you guys understand them better, and help you guys learn how to plan for pool leaks because they are going to happen. So, what does a leak really cost? Obviously, there's the financial impact, right? Everybody usually kind of looks at a pool leak and their first thought is, "Oh no, there's water loss." And then how much is the leak detection and what is it actually going to cost me to repair it? But there's a couple of hidden costs in there that people don't catch. And one of them is the water bill. Most communities are going to have an autofill on their pool that's constantly feeding that pool. So even though they have a leak, that leak may go unnoticed for anywhere from a month to 2 months to 6 months as that water bill begins to slowly creep up. I don't know how many of you guys have ever gotten a $500,000. I don't even know what a community association water bill starts at. I know my residential home, right? The We had a leak in the plumbing and we watched our water bill jump from I think $85 to about 250 in just 1 month from a leak in our water line. I know with communities it can be even more, especially with that autofill constantly running. If nobody's catching it, nobody's watching it. There's also a hidden cost of chemicals. As your pool water begins to leak out of the pool, it's getting replaced with that fresh hose water. And when it gets put into the pool, there it's diluted. And so now the pool company, the pool service company, has to come in, add more chemicals, whether that's chlorine or salt or leveling out the pH and all the different chemicals that they have to maintain. It increases their cost, which in turn gets passed on to you guys as a community. And then the third one is equipment damage. This one is a little bit more rare for a pool leak to cause equipment damage on a commercial pool, but it's still very possible. And I want to make you aware of that. So when a pool is leaking water and it drains enough water that the pump begins to suck air into it instead of water into it, that pump can overheat. And when that pump overheats, obviously we all know it can burn up the pump. And if you've ever, I don't know if you guys have recently replaced a pool pump, but they have gotten more expensive every single year. And some of those larger commercial pools can cost anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 or more just for the pump, not including that the install cost. So water bills, chemical use, equipment damage, and one of the last ones right here is the longevity of your pool surface. Just for fun, I know people are kind of playing with their keyboards and ready to type some answers in. If you guys are willing to share, if you've recently renovated your pool, gotten a new pool surface, new tile, maybe done some deck work, that kind of stuff, if you're willing to share, would you throw into the comments right now how much you guys spent on a renovation? And the reason I ask that is because when we have fresh water that's added that doesn't have the proper chemical balance, it's going to try to balance out its pH. It's going to pull um, chemicals and stuff out of the pool surface. It's going to leach chemicals out of the actual concrete. It's actually going to shorten the life of that brand new pool surface you just put in. And if you spend anywhere from 20,000 to 100,000 on a renovation, hoping it would last 20 years, a leak in the pool that goes unchecked could shorten that life of the pool surface down to 16 years, 15 years, or even worse. So these are all the hidden costs that you have to really think about as you're kind of beginning to address a pool leak. Beyond that, some of the long-term structural impacts of leaks that have gone ignored is actually, I want to look at the comments and see. I think people are actually responding to 55, 65,000. That's about right for a commercial pool. After the hurricane, hurricanes are terrible for pools. So thank you guys for sharing this. Um, some of the structural impacts that oftentimes can be overlooked. If a leak goes ignored, cracks grow, leaks get bigger, plumbing issues can cause a washout under the pool deck, and sunken concrete or pavers. Those can become tripping hazards. And I want to expand on those a little bit. If you guys have ever dealt with a crack in a pool, a lot of times you'll see it'll start as a 1 or 2 inch crack, and then it grows to a foot, and then over the next year it might grow to 2 foot or 3 foot. Well, on the opposite side of the pool, there's probably a like sized crack that is beginning to show up. And over time, as the pool continues to settle, as water continues to rush out of that small crack in the pool, as it gets bigger, those cracks will literally crawl down the walls of your pool, slowly merging into one giant crack. And at some point, pray this never happens to anybody's pool, it's the worst thing ever. Your pool literally will crack in half. And then you're left calling in an engineer. And we all know when you have to call the engineers in, it's never good, but they come in and design helical piles that get put underneath of the pool, helical pilings that get put underneath the pool to stabilize it and then attempt to do a crack repair. Our hope is that if you guys are keeping up with leak detection, making sure you're staying on top of it, those cracks will never make it all the way across the bottom. Things will never get to that point. Nobody wants to call in an engineer on their pool. Leaks get bigger. Pools never self-heal, right? They always are waiting for somebody to come in, find the leak, and fix it. What starts as a leak the size of a tip of a pen over the course of a year or 2 years, if left unchecked, can grow to the size of a finger, can grow to the size of a golf ball, and then even bigger than that. Plumbing issues, as this says, they can cause that washout. Usually, if you have a leak on the pool return side, the jets under the deck, you're not. A lot of people ask the question, "Am I going to have a sinkhole open up underneath of my pool?" And the answer to that is most likely not. But what you do get is you get a small washout. If you have a concrete deck, sometimes that means that there'll be a 1 to 2 inch gap between the dirt and the bottom of the concrete underneath of that deck, where your concrete deck is actually floating. In a worst case scenario, I've seen maybe up to about 6 or 8 inches of sunken sand underneath of the concrete where the deck was just floating. And what comes with that is if you have pavers, your pavers begin to settle. If you have concrete, the concrete can settle a little bit, it'll crack, and then you guys have to worry about tripping hazards, lawsuits that come with that stuff. And then one of the last hidden costs that all of those things all pile into is simply this: stress. And it all falls back to you guys as the community association managers, right? Unplanned pool closures, angry guests, upset residents, and pointing fingers. They're asking questions. Why is the pool closed? Why aren't you making sure the pool surface is keeping up with the chemicals? I'm sure more than one association manager in here has had their pool shut down because the chemicals weren't balanced correctly. I would have to imagine. And one of the things that happens is when you have a pool leak and you're losing so much water, your pool service isn't necessarily not doing their job. It's just they can't do their job because they're losing all the chemicals they put in. And then the county comes out, does an inspection, and shuts you down because things aren't balanced correctly. So much of that stress ends up falling back on you. The heart behind all of this, again, is if you plan for the worst, plan for those leak detections, hopefully you can save yourself from the stress. Amen. I know mics are muted, but I imagine there's some amens in there. So one of the things I wanted to get into with you guys today as well is how are leaks actually detected? And if we know what the financial impacts are, how do we actually go in and find those things? Usually it's in three ways. It starts typically with a structure and dye test. And what I mean by that, if anybody here has had a leak detection in the past, you probably have walked out and seen the guys that showed up. They got in the pool, they put on their mask, they put on a weight belt, jumped in the pool, and they had a little syringe, and they were just swimming around the pool looking like they were having the greatest time of their lives. Just so everybody knows, in summertime, it is the greatest time of our lives because the pools are nice and warm. It's very comfortable. In the winter, it gets chilly, and those guys are gritting their teeth and they're trying to find these leaks for you guys. But what the structure check looks like is they just swim around the pool, they check anywhere that looks suspicious, and they use a syringe that's filled with a contrasting dye. Um, when water is getting pushed out of that hole, we can't see the actual water leaving. However, if we put a little bit of color in a tube and inject it right next to that leak, usually about a half inch to a quarter inch away from that leak, we can actually see the dye get sucked right out of the pool wall. And then we know we've got a leak. Usually we can patch that up with epoxy, or if it's huge, make a recommendation for a different style of repair. Um, but as they're swimming around again, they've got to be within that half inch, quarter inch of a leak. So they are literally scouring the entire pool surface looking for these things. So the in the water structure and dye test is important to find all the structure leaks. Pressure testing, this is how we find leaks in plumbing, right? The pool returns, the suction line, the gutters, if you have a large commercial pool, vacuum lines, those kind of things. What we do is we come out and we plug off all of the pipes, both at the equipment and in the pool. And when we put air pressure in those or gas, some people will use helium, but when we put air or gas into those lines, we should be able to pressure those lines up to about 15 psi. And those lines should hold pressure. If there's no leaks, they're going to hold pressure. Everything's good. If there is a leak, we're going to watch a pressure gauge. And as that pressure gauge begins to drop, we know that there's a leak in the line. And then we have to figure out where that leak is. So pressure testing confirms that there is a leak. From there, we use sonar, which is really microphones. There's both in the water microphones and little deck plate microphones. You can walk around and actually listen to the deck, to the subsurface leaks, and try to find where that air and that gas are escaping out of the pipe. You guys have all heard, been underwater and blown bubbles. You can hear that noise. When we pressurize the pool returns or the suction lines, it creates that gurgling sound in the saturated soil underneath of the deck. And we can actually use sonar sound to pinpoint exactly where that is, usually down to within about 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches of the actual leak. From there, we got to open up the deck. I'll show you guys a picture later on of one where the leak was actually under the pool, which was not a fun job to try to locate that one. But use of sonar will help find these leaks. Some people ask, is technology better than a visual inspection? There's a couple of companies out there that advertise electronic leak detection. And what they actually do is they'll put on a headset microphone and they'll drop a submersible microphone into the water and they'll walk around the pool and they'll listen. And even without air, sometimes leaks are loud enough you can actually hear them with the right style microphone. Okay. Um, and so microphones can actually help find leaks before you ever have to get in the water. A lot of people up north in different states where it snows, where it gets cold during the winter times or late fall, early spring, they'll actually use electronic microphones just to avoid getting in the water. Fortunately, we're all in Florida, I believe, and we don't have to worry too much about getting in super, super cold water. So technology is awesome. Microphones can help locate leaks both in the pool surface as well as buried deep underground. We've found leaks that are up to 10 foot underground. Um, Technology, cameras, and camera tracers are really awesome, and they're kind of up and coming and growing. Cameras have been around for a long time, right? Sewer cams and those kind of things. Um, but one of the new technologies out there is the pipe cams are small enough that you can actually run a camera through a pool return that's a 1.5 inch pipe instead of a sewer pipe that's like 4 inches. You can actually run a camera down a 1.5 inch pipe and wrap the hard elbows in a pool. So in pools, they don't use sweeping elbows like they do in household plumbing. And so that's always been one of the hard parts about using a camera in pool leak detection. But now they're starting to get to the point where you can wrap hard 90s a little better. And on the tips of those cameras, they'll also have a tracer. And you can actually walk around on the pool deck with a little beacon and you can actually pinpoint exactly where that camera is underneath of the deck. So cameras and tracers can track piping. They can give a visual inspection of the plumbing where the human eye can't normally see. But truthfully, the most important of all of them probably is the visual inspection. Most leaks, I'm going to say probably 3/4 of the leaks that we find at Aqua Leak end up being in the pool surface, not the plumbing. I know a lot of people, when they start to notice that they've got a pool leak, they start having these grand visions of, oh no, I'm going to have to tear out the whole deck. I'm going to repipe the whole pool. It's something terrible. Rest at ease. Most leaks are going to be found within the pool surface and usually can be patched up same day for most companies at no additional cost. So that's how we find them. Um, a lot of times, this question comes up: the benefits of professional inspections over DIY methods, right? I talked a little bit earlier about the guy that just throws on his mask, his snorkel, has a dye tester and a weight belt, and jumps in the pool. It looks very simple, and in all reality, swimming the pool and looking at the structure, trying to find the leaks, really is a simple concept, but it takes a very trained eye to be able to find all of the leaks. And so, if you're somebody that's just a DIY person, you want to go jump in the pool, you want to try to figure it out, absolutely go for it. There's kits readily available for anywhere from 20 to about $100 that you can use to kind of help figure out where leaks are. Um, but what's interesting about leak detection in the world of pools, you have pool service, the chemical experts, right? Pool service companies. You have pool construction companies that build pools. You've got renovation companies. You could tie them in with the construction companies. But you've got different fields within this pool industry, and even pool service and construction companies that build the pools oftentimes rely on a leak detection professional rather than even taking the time to do it themselves. And here's why. We get a lot of different referrals from pool service companies and construction companies, and they say, hey, we have gone out 5 times over, 6 times over. We can't figure out the leak. Can you guys go figure this one out? A lot of people will try to do it themselves, but unless this is what you're doing all the time, again, a lot of these leaks can be the size of the tip of a pen. It's very easy to overlook the leak. The big ones are easy to find. There's a lot of times when, we were talking about cracks earlier. There's a lot of times you can walk up on a pool and see a 5 foot crack running down the pool wall. You can pretty much bet that that's a leak, maybe the leak. We always tell our trainees this. It takes 12 weeks just to understand the job. It takes about 6 months to become efficient, and it takes years to master. One of the things that I like, I'm kind of a data nerd. again, DIY versus professional, right? When I look at data, even among professional leak detections, right, taking some of our staff into account, the newest technicians in their first year, they usually are able to average about 92 to 93% accuracy on the first visit. So that means finding all of the leaks, all of the issues on the very first visit. It's about 92 to 93%. We have one technician that's been here for about 10 years doing leak detection in the water, day in, day out, hot or cold, rain or shine. And this guy, at 10 years into this, has an amazing 98% over the course of an entire year, which is just absolutely amazing. This job really is unique, and the industry of leak detection is unique, but definitely can take years to master. So again, if you're somebody that wants to try it out, jump in the water, see if you can find it, 100% go for it. See if you guys can save a few bucks. If you can't, there's always professionals in your area, whether that's us or somebody else. Budgeting for prevention versus reaction. A lot of people tend to react to pool leaks, and not a whole lot of companies or people are preventative on leaks. And what I mean by that is a lot of people will wait until they realize they have a leak before they ever decide to even think about leaks, right? Same thing with homeowners. You know, if you have uh, you're probably not going to call a sewer company out to scope your drain lines or anything like that unless you actually have a problem. Most people live there, right? They're reacting. However, a planned inspection is great for this reason. One, leak detection really isn't, the actual leak detection is really not that expensive. On a residential pool, you're talking about anywhere from 350 to maybe 400, $500. On a commercial pool, you're talking anywhere from 600, maybe 1200. And if you have a very, very large pool, probably about $2,000. That's just for the leak detection. A, you can also plan your closure so that you're not doing it in the peak season. And hopefully, if you can catch the leak early, it's something that can be solved with a smaller repair rather than calling in engineers and going crazy with very large repairs. If you're somebody that's going to react to the leak, you have to know that there's some money that's already spent, right? On that water bill, the equipment use, or not equipment use, the chemical use, and possibly the burnt up equipment. You're also kind of at risk for having a last minute unplanned closure. I'm sure everybody has been yelled at for the unplanned closures, right? Angry guests and homeowners. The benefit, again, is making sure that you guys put into the inspection. We recommend biannual, twice a year. If not twice a year, at least once a year. And I know some people don't want to even put that in there, but at least put it in every other year. So how do we align preventative maintenance with budget cycles? Wintertime is the busy season for every pool leak detection company in Florida. If you are anywhere near Venice or Inglewood, Florida today, it has been pouring rain, I think, for 48 hours nonstop over here. It has been insane. And so a lot of times this time of year, pool leak detection companies slow down. Homeowners don't realize, or communities don't realize that they're actually losing water at this time of year because the rain is just filling it up. If I lose an inch of water in my pool today, the rain probably filled it back up 2 inches. And so most of the time, people start to notice their leaks as we go into the dry season. So that's mid to late fall going throughout the winter. In the wintertime, PVC, just like any plastic or metal, will expand and it will contract. And so a lot of times leaks tend to appear most often in the fall or into the winter, and then they continue to get bigger until they get treated. So if you plan for a leak detection in the late summer or the early fall, the hope is that you guys can catch the leak early, avoid that last minute unplanned pool closure, And if you do it in the fall, just before all the snowbirds come back down, or as the snowbirds are coming back down, hopefully they won't be hitting up your inbox or calling you constantly because the pool is closed. The ROI, is it worth a leak detection if I don't know if I'm leaking? Well, a $1,500 leak detection today, if we go back and look at the water bill, right? A $1,500 leak detection today can save you hundreds in water use, thousands in pool equipment, and hopefully extend the life of your pool so that you're not having to call another renovation company. The ROI is there if you are proactive in planning. So what's the inspection scheduling? Again, we recommend a biannual inspection. Late spring, snowbirds are flocking north, life is slowing down. It's a good time at that point in the late spring to go ahead and get on the schedule for an inspection. Mid-fall, if you're going to do a second one about 6 months after late spring, right? Mid-fall, just before the big cold snaps all start, all of the snowbirds are getting ready to come back or are just getting back in town. Again, hopefully we can catch a small leak before it becomes a big leak, get it sealed up, and get you good for the season. Coordinating with pool vendors. I know a lot of people, as you guys are thinking about getting a leak detection done, doing any kind of remodels, doing any kind of work, you always want to do it in the summer or when nobody else is there. You'll have the roofing company there, you'll have the plumbers there, you'll have the landscape architects there, you'll have all these different vendors all coming together to work and get everything done in 1 week. And it's awesome to be able to do that. However, in the world of leak detection, when we're using sound to pinpoint a leak that's under the deck where we can't see it, those leaks are already very difficult to pinpoint. And so if I'm battling against mowers, if I'm battling against jackhammers or roofers, pinpointing that leak becomes nearly impossible. It becomes a whole lot harder. Um, and so we always want to coordinate for the quietest time when all the other companies aren't there. Just something to keep in mind. But we also need to coordinate with the pool service company, the pool vendors. We need to make sure that that pool is actually clean, clear, and up to operating level. When we show up, if the pool is half empty, well, that's half the pool that we can't actually tell if it's leaking or not. So as we're getting ready to come out, we will make a big push for the pool company to ensure the pool is going to be clean, clear, and up to operating level. Another thing we can't do is we can't find a leak if we can't see in the water. I can't tell you how many pools we've walked up to that are slimy green with tadpoles and frogs all over the place. Trust me, across the board, no matter what company they are, no leak detection likes to get into slimy pool water. Um, the job is very difficult as is. So we want to make sure it's nice and clean and clear. So coordinating with pool vendors is very, very important. CAM advocacy and presenting leak detection. As you're talking with the communities, again, most of them tend to be reactive, not proactive. However, as the association managers, your goal is to hopefully take a little bit of stress off you and get them to buy into pre-planning, whether that's roofing inspections, plumbing inspections, leak inspections, all of those different things, right? So try to add it into your budget on an annual or a biannual inspection of the pool, right? It'll hopefully give them the security and the confidence that your pool is always going to be taken care of. Speak confidently about the long-term savings as you're talking with the association. Talk to the community about the cost of a pool pump, cost of the chemicals, cost of how much money the water bill is going to go up if a leak goes unchecked for months and months. If you guys have ever had, actually, this would be a great case study. And if anybody wants to take my email and send me a case study, if you have the info, I would love the report on this. If you've had a previous leak detection right? If you look back 4 months, 5 months prior at the water bill and the pool service bill, and then watch over those next 4 months what the water bill jumped up to that finally led you to get the leak detection, or how much the chemical bill went up from the pool service provider before they finally said, hey, something's wrong with your pool and we're using 10 times the amount of chemicals. I'd be interested in that actual cost analysis, that breakdown. But if you have it, as you're talking and trying to get them to budget a leak detection in, um, those would be great reports to be able to share with the association. So again, if you have previous leak reports, calculate the total cost that they spent just waiting those 3 or 4 months before getting the leak detection done. So the summary of all this, the benefits of a proactive leak detection. Number one, it's cost savings. Number two, it's the increased life expectancy of your pool. Number three, save your equipment from failure, avoid those big expenses, and avoid unplanned downtime for the pool. And most importantly, for all of you cams, hopefully it will be less stress for you trying to track down a leak detection in the middle of season when everybody is booked out. So that's what I've got. You guys have any questions for me? Am I allowed to open up mics, or does that go straight to you, Dan?
Well, they can just put it right into the chat, but yes, let's definitely open up for some questions. Great presentation, Will. Great job.
Yeah, I've got a quiz for everybody too.
Yeah. Were you paying attention?
How do I get to my chat?
Just at the bottom, if you scroll like below your slide and hit chat, you should see all that. But I'll read them to you if you want to go
Yeah, I'll
ahead
let
and
you
start
read
the
them.
Q&A. Yeah,
Mine's
for
not
sure.
popping up for some reason.
No worries. Here's one. How often should the pool be tested for leaks? Annually, every 2 years, or case by case when leak discovered?
I would honestly recommend in a commercial pool setting, because you have the autofill, right? You're not going to know you're not going to be like a homeowner that sees the pool dropping regularly, dropping down, halfway empty or anything like that, unless you have a very, very huge leak. I would recommend at least once a year. If you really want to be on the safe side, twice a year, but at a bare minimum, once every other year, if you're trying to be proactive.
Hey, all right. If you want to go into the quiz,
Sure.
we'll have everyone participate on chat.
All right. I'm going to let everybody know this is probably the hardest quiz of your life. High school, college, they have nothing on this. All right. So I believe everybody is supposed to enter into the chat their letter, their recommendation for what they believe the answer is.
That's
So,
right.
question one, what utility cost is most directly impacted by a pool leak?
Got a lot of A's coming in. A. We
I'm
got some smart ones with us this morning.
somebody's going to throw D in there.
All A's.
How long should I give them?
Like 5 seconds.
All right. 5 seconds is up. Ding, ding, ding. The answer is A. Question two. Which of the following is a common leak detection method? The chemical test, pressure testing, brush testing, or a pump flush?
We got an A come in. We got a B come in. We got an A come in, a B come in. It's between A and B.
There's going to be a fight between those people.
Yeah. Tell us what it is.
The answer is pressure testing. To those that are saying A, there is some logic there. So I'm actually going to back you up just a little bit. So your pool service company oftentimes is going to be the one that alerts you that there's probably a leak in the pool because they're using a whole lot more chemicals. So I think A is a fair answer, but when that's just to tell that they have a leak, but pressure testing is actually a leak detection method. So
Everyone still gets credit.
everyone still gets credit. At least I didn't see any of the other answers in there. All right, when is the best time to schedule a leak inspection? Every month. Every month. No.
Mm,
During winter holidays, before hurricane season, and
that
after summer.
B.
Every month or randomly. The answer is B. Good job. All right, which item increases strain due to a pool leak? Pool toys, pool lights, the pump, or a fence?
Yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut for a second just to get the answers in.
Oh man, they're on it. Look how active.
Yeah. Got a lot of C's.
The answer is C.
Great
All
job,
right, what is the
everyone.
biggest benefit of early leak detection? Stronger pool lights, a quieter pump, cost savings, or new decking? These guys are keyboard warriors.
I know, I love it. C.
BBC it is. What tool uses sound waves to locate leaks? Dye test, sonar, hammer, or a hose?
I can see everyone like, you know, with the button.
Beep, beep, beep.
B.
Family Feud. You got to hit it
B
fast.
it
Right?
is. B it is.
Gotta have fun with this stuff, you know?
Which is more effective, proactive inspections or emergency repair? One person put A.
You know, okay. Seeing some C.
Proactive inspections it is. How can CAMs advocate for leak detection in the budget? Mention it once. Bring printed reports and examples. Ignore cost savings. Or say nothing. I'm glad I'm not taking this. I'm too much of a smart aleck.
B. A lot of B's.
B it is. What seasonal factor can reveal pool leaks? Holiday lighting, weather events, lifeguard rotations, or new umbrellas?
New umbrellas.
I told you, hardest quiz ever.
Hardest quiz ever. B. Lots of B's.
B it is. Good job, everybody. Which of these is a CAM responsibility? The board elections, insurance fraud, maintenance planning, or plumbing installations? C. C it is.
B it is.
Hey, before we totally wrap up, that's the end of the quiz. I think Diane's crying out of laughter over here.
No, I love to smile. I mean, it's
I
fun.
wanted to show you guys a couple of photos just of leaks, right? So if you walk out to a skimmer on your spa or on your pool and you look down and you see a crack that looks like this thing, you can guarantee you've got a leak. However, just to the right, what you're seeing here is that this is the cord that goes to the pool light, and the pool light actually gets mounted through a bolt that goes right into this little hole. Surprisingly, that hole will sometimes leak. And so leaks don't always look like leaks. That's a manufactured hole that is meant to be there. And if that bolt is not put in with Teflon, that will cause a leak in your pool. Another one. This one's kind of unique because this is actually a high tile line leak. And if the pool was shut off, this would not actually be leaking water. That leak is right here along this grout line, and this little basin down below fills up and spills out over these tiles. Well, when the basin fills up, the water actually gets just high enough that it will hit this tile line and leak out of the pool. So again, sometimes leaks aren't actually underwater or in the plumbing. They're above the water, but when the pool fills up, water hits it. And I referenced the massive repair at the bottom of a commercial pool that we actually, this is an ongoing repair at the moment. Couple of plumbing leaks down underneath of a pool. And this one, I wish I had a better photo of the actual pool. This is the deep end right here. And to the left side of this, it goes to the shallow end. And you go from about 7 foot, I want to say 7 or 8 foot in the deep end to about 3 foot in the shallow end over the course of about 10 feet. And so when we pressure test, even though the leak is over here, sound or bubbles literally travel under the pool floor, up through here, and then actually shoot out to the outer edges of both sides of the pool, making the sound that we hear up here under the deck outside of the pool. But in reality, the leak is actually under the pool. The other hard part about this one is it's actually out on St. Armand Circle, Siesta Key area, and the entire lower half of this pool, so starting at the bottom of this ladder that's at the top, is groundwater. And so sometimes leaks just are ornery. This is probably one of the most ornery leaks we've ever had. Hopefully, nobody else has to ever go through this. These are not fun repairs. The rest of them, not so bad. Again, what does a skimmer repair or a repair actually look like? I mentioned it earlier, a lot of people have this grand vision of, I'm going to have to repipe my entire pool. I'm going to have to tear out the entire deck. It's not the case. Most under deck repairs, if it's just a plumbing repair, can be done in an 8-inch by 8-inch or a 10-inch by 10-inch opening, sometimes a little bit bigger. A skimmer replacement for that cracked skimmer we saw earlier, usually we're talking about a 24 by 28-inch opening. And so most repairs, even if they're under the deck, don't require a massive opening unless they're under the pool. And then that's a whole nother story. But again, keep in mind about 3/4 of your pool leaks actually are in the pool surface, in the structure, and can be patched up without ever draining the pool and with very minimal scar. So not nearly as invasive as a lot of people want to have in their minds. So rest at ease. We're not going to tear apart your entire pool deck. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity to come out today. I appreciate it.
Does anybody have any questions? We appreciate you. Excellent job. First one, you would never know it, right, Lindsay? Lindsay's like, he's a great presenter. Like, obviously.
Yeah, you did wonderful. You did wonderful.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
I just put his contact information into the chat if you don't have any more questions.
Sure. Am I
Lindsay,
allowed to share one thing? I know somebody at the very beginning mentioned they were in need of a leak detection. We run from Apollo Beach to Marco Island, all along the West Coast. This time of year, because it is a little bit slower with the rains, every now and then we'll go out to Lake Okeechobee area. If you just need help finding a leak detection company, I also have a lot of friends that do leak detection in other parts of the state as well. So not afraid to give you a recommendation if you need it.
That's awesome. Patty Doll said, thank you. We use your services and you're fantastic at what you do. So thank you for
Thank
that
you,
feedback. Lindsay, do you want to wrap this up?
Sure thing. So I just put in the chat, Diane, my email address is right here on the last slide. But if you can please email, the subject line would be Aqua Leak Hidden Costs. And in the body of the email, you're going to put your name as it appears on your CAM license, as well as your CAM license number. That way I make sure I give you credit for the correct course and have the information that I need that's required for me to report to the DBPR. So please make sure you put Aqua Leak Hidden Costs in the subject line. And then again, your name and your CAM license to lindsay@yourcoastalliving.com. And if anyone would like a copy of the PowerPoint, please feel free to request that in the email as well.
Thank you, Will.